is another edition of the Spotlight series, where the spotlight shines bright on the creatives who light up our world. I am your host, JJ Chukwuma, and I am thrilled to bring you intimate conversations with talented individuals who inspire us through their lives. Today, we are shining the spotlight on Oyazi Agu Nnaemeka, a curator, a school proprietor, and a scientist. So he's a graduate of microbiology and has a post-diploma in fine and applied arts. He's also the CEO, Tiggy's Art Gallery. Tiggy's Art Gallery is one of the two art galleries in Abakaliki, Ebonyi State, and is the first. He started before others started. Welcome, Nnaemeka, to the show.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here with you.
All right, I've read a profile about you. I've said some certain things about you, but I want to know you from you telling me who Nnaemeka is. Who is Nnaemeka?
Okay, Nnaemeka is a curious individual and has always had the drive for creativity. And just like every other person that has that drive for creativity, the difference is that I took extra step in trying to see what I can gain or what I can do with what I have. And it has taken me into different places. But I thank God that I'm here today and I'm exploring different areas of what I'm interested in. So that is in a nutshell what Nnaemeka is, or Oyazi Nnaemeka, Tiggy's Art Gallery.
When I was going through your profile, I researched about you. Immediately I heard about you. When I was going through your profile, I understood that you're a proprietor, you're also a scientist, and you're also an artist. So how have you blended these things together? How have you balanced being a scientist, a proprietor, and then an artist?
Okay, it's not that difficult if you actually look at it very well. You discover that as long as you are willing to learn, you have the drive to learn, you can learn anything. My biggest inspiration came from one of the most popular artists and also one of the most popular scientists that has ever existed, in the name of Leonardo da Vinci, who everybody knows as the painter of Mona Lisa. But people don't really remember that he is also one of the biggest inventors the world has ever seen. So Leonardo, if he could do all those things, then during that period where things were a bit more difficult, then nothing is stopping anybody from exploring other areas as much as they can in this fast-paced period of where information is everywhere.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. You were once a scientist. In fact, you studied microbiology in school. What inspired you into going into arts?
As a matter of fact, I actually started as a medical student.
Wow.
So, but that's the university story. You have to also look at my background, what I was doing before I got into the university.
Yeah.
So I've always been known as an artist from a very young age. I was doing things that grown-ups were not able to do. So, but I was not. I was also good in other areas. I was just as good in the sciences as I was good in the arts. So when I found myself in a school, my secondary school those days in Enugu, I got the opportunity to visit a gallery for the first time in my life, and I thank God for that day. And that should be the Nikelek Gallery, as far back as 2001 or so. So when I got there and I saw what people were creating, I had to ask myself, was this thing done with hand or was it magic? So after moving around, I was inspired to try out. So I went back. I started seeing if I can replicate or create something that is of the standard to what I saw in those galleries. And I was successful to the extent that I was able to win some awards due to my artistic endeavor. But I was still in science class those days. So I was the sole representative of the school in the arts. So I couldn't leave art completely to go and become a scientist.
Yeah.
So when I finished, I found myself in medicine because that was what was in vogue
Then.
So
I was coming to that. You know, when growing up, most of our parents said you either be a lawyer or be a medical doctor. So you being an arts person, I was wondering, how did you do this?
So that's just the story. It was what was in vogue, and I made a good enough results to
Yeah,
get myself there. But my heart was always in art.
in arts.
As a matter of fact, it got to the level where I would leave school to go and teach fine and applied art in a secondary school, while still attending lecture as a medical student.
Wow.
So at a time, something must give, and the science gave way. That was why, even though I started as a medical student, I ended up with a degree in microbiology.
Microbiology.
So I had to pick one that I could balance out
With.
with. So once I was able to find my way and I was able to satisfy that scientific drive, I said, okay, why not give the same attention to arts? Hence the postgraduate diploma in fine and applied arts. So,
That's an interesting story. So I wanted to know, when I read up on you, I wanted to ask this question personally to you. Can anybody be an artist, or is this something that is inborn? Is this something that you learn, or can anybody become an artist?
I believe the answer is, if it's a yes and no answer, the answer will be yes and also no.
No.
In the sense that just like any endeavor you want to achieve, it's your efforts that determine how far you go in it. So you can be born with a talent, but if you don't put in enough effort, you will not make anything of it. It will die off. You can also be born without it. And because you are so interested that you put in effort, you can also become very good at it. And the nature of the arts environment allows for a lot of creativity, no matter where it is coming from. So, and that's part of what has kept me here. I enjoy to see people that can think outside the box, people that are able to break the status quo, to create something completely different, be able to share stories, original stories through art. That's why we are here. That's why I'm here today.
You're an art lover.
Yes.
You enjoy drawing, you enjoy creating art. So, but today you're a gallery owner. So how did you transition from being this art lover to being an owner of a gallery, creating this art and making it something that is in a gallery people go and watch and buy? How did you go from being an art lover to being a gallery owner?
The part of owning a gallery came more as more of a philanthropic gesture. And because I discovered that I traveled to Abuja, was able to see the art and craft village over there. I saw that so many of our indigenes from Ebonyi State would travel to all the way to Abuja just to show themselves.
Wow.
And I also exhibited in Abuja as well. But I had to ask myself, is it that we don't appreciate art in our place? So when I finished in Abuja, I came back to Ebonyi State, started as a small art studio. I was making a lot of name there. Then something came up. I had a program that I had to travel to Lagos. When I went to Lagos, I visited like 3 or 4 galleries there. And I had to tell myself, these people, what they are doing is not so different from what we can do. Somebody has to start it. Yes, it's true that the knowledge of the business might not be there, because sometimes knowledge takes time. Experience is built over time. But somebody has to start it. If you don't start it, there will be no platform for you to learn how to do it or how not to do it. I said, okay, since this is what I love to do, there's no harm in going all in. I had to come back, and as God will have it, I was able to find a good place to start up. And we are here today.
So far, you have gotten to a level, especially in Ebonyi State. So far, what has been your challenging or memorable experience, and what have you learned from this experience?
The situation now is in Ebonyi State, we are still very young.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, our knowledge of what art entails is so minimal. And so the work of the gallery is not just to sell artworks and carry out exhibitions and all. Part of the major work of galleries is for art advocacy. Give information, educate the public. This is what art is. This is how important it is to your community. This is what can come out of it, not just for entertainment or self-aggrandizement, but for the long future of the state where such is located. Because an art gallery is supposed to be a creative hub where different creatives come in to exchange ideas, explore different media, and creativity should thrive in any place that an art gallery exists. And such creativity has not been completely explored in Abakaliki. So that is our main challenge now, is that education is not yet as far as we want it to be. And we are working as hard as possible to push out enough information out there. Like we hosted some competitions with secondary schools, the first of its kind, inter-school arts competition hosted by a gallery, was done here in Abakaliki by Tikis Art Gallery. It was massive, and I'm sure that most of the students, we are so happy. Some of them got scholarship through that.
Yeah, I know. I saw something like this online.
So we are pushing. We want people to know that everything is not about. Everybody cannot be a doctor. Everybody cannot be a lawyer. As a matter of fact, art has a lot of influence, if not more influence, in the science sector than the science sector has in art.
Wow.
Whenever I say it, people appear to...
It's actually new information.
You understand? So if you limit what you think art is to drawing and painting and all that, then you are not getting the whole scope. The literary arts, those that write, and those that you also have performing arts, those that do drama and the rest of them, particularly the literary arts, has had more influence in science than science has had
influence in arts.
Because when you watch around and you see the new technologies that have been coming up, if you pick some science fiction books as far back as 20, 50 years ago, some of those ideas have been captured in writing by literary artists. So some of those inspirations that scientists are bringing in to apply, some of the inspirations were gotten from artists who have been able to express themselves, because that is the only thing they know how to do best.
No.
So they've been able to express themselves. The work of the scientists is now to bring those ideas and put it through the rings of laws of science to see what works and what cannot work. For example, the phone we are using today. I'm sure that if you look at some books that are written, there will be a time where somebody will write, imagine a world where you can stay here and speak to another person without any connection.
Yes.
That is literary art speaking. Then scientists, through their laws, who can now decide, okay, let us put this to test. What if we try it this way, try it this way? Before you know it, it comes out. So art is always the originator, if you check it very well. So imagine now you are living in a community where that creativity is allowed to thrive. People will be coming up with ideas all the time. It's not a matter of do you have the setup that can grab those ideas and put it to test. Before you know it, you become the scientific hub also, just because you have some creative activities going on. So that is how I see it.
That's an interesting angle. This is the first time I'm hearing that arts now has more influence on the science than science has influenced the arts. If I've not learned anything today, I will go home with this, and I know our viewers are already learning a lot from Mr. Nnaemeka being in the studio. So, Mr. Nnaemeka, I've heard from a lot of people, and there's this popular notion that art is for the rich. This notion has led to some people to excuse themselves from buying art or doing anything art because art is a rich man's thing. What's your thoughts on this? Do you think it's true? Do you think it's the right notion? Do you think that poor people can actually be involved in buying art, creating art?
Okay, I believe the art market is for everybody. Not just believe, but I am quite sure that is the case, because there is art for every budget. So it depends on what your budget is. The confusion comes in when people don't understand how art is being evaluated, the value that a piece of art might have. One can have a small piece of work that might be worth millions, and yet a very big one will be just worth thousands. So when you are seeing uh, such situation, you might start assuming that this is not for small person, or it's big man thing, but it's not really the case. There is art for every budget, So, and that's what an art gallery is there for, to create that platform where people can come, no matter your budget, you come, and there will be a certain art piece that you can go home with. So that's it on that.
So anybody can be involved in buying art.
Yes.
I was interested in this question because I would have asked after this show, I'll be following you to your art gallery. Let me see if there is there is any art on my budget. Right, that's interesting. So far, I know for everybody, they always have this influence. You have talked about earlier on in the studio about Ronaldo da Vinci. You have talked about him, but who has been your biggest influence in the art world, and what lessons have you learned from his influence
Okay.
or her influence?
I've learned a lot from many artists. I can the list is enormous. When I was much younger, after Da Vinci, the next person I took interest in was Ben Enwonwu, one of old Nigerian contemporary artists. Very incredible artist. In fact, I am yet to see an artist that can rival what I was seeing as of then. And then as far back as JSS3, I sold my first artwork in a gallery then in Enugu, Bona Gallery. I think the place has closed down now. And I sold it then for, I think it was 3,000 naira for the sculpture. 3,000 naira was very big money
there
then.
to you.
So that gallery was also a very big influence. Thank a lot of thank you, Mr. Zudu, for the opportunity then. And over time, I've also encountered some big artists, some that that have influenced me in other ways. Someone like one of my professors, who, in fact, the fact that I had the courage to actually venture into the art business was because of Professor Kwemes. Very intelligent man. So these are a few of the influences I've had. Because sometimes if you start mentioning those you are seeing in the books, it will be as if you are talking from something that you cannot reach. But these ones are people that you can see any time of the day. And even Dennis Ani, one of the best visual artists we have. So the influences are uncountable. One of my very close friends too, who one day when I got up and told him, "This thing, are you sure it is doable?" He didn't just tell me that it is doable. He showed me. Right now he's in Canada, and what is he doing? He's doing art. That is what he's doing. So when you look at such a situation, it's called that the market is there. It's just a matter of you. Are you able to put in that extra work? And you have to be resilient. In fact, the art market is a market of the patient. You have to be very, very patient. It's not something you just put out today and today you sell. No. And if you're looking at it from that angle, you might get discouraged. So it's a long-term business, and it's something that anybody and everybody should know about. I will not tell you to go into the business, but at least you should know a lot about it so that you know how to take advantage of it. In case of investment, for example, there are some artworks don't often depreciate in value. Just like land, they end up appreciating in value. But you need to know the particular one, the one that you should actually invest in. Hey, that's why sometimes we hear artworks that are going for millions. Those ones, 10 years ago, they are not really selling at that. But something along the way must have transpired that got it to that level. So it's a different topic altogether.
Wait, that's interesting. That you just said something now. So you can actually make an art today, and it's sold for instance, it's sold for 50,000 naira. Then in the next 10 years, that same art is now sold for maybe
Millions.
1 million naira. So art appreciates.
It appreciates.
I'm hearing this for the first
It
time.
appreciates at a speed that is astronomical. There are so many factors that influence the art market. So, but like I said, it's a discussion for a different, another day.
Okay, that was interesting. So we have talked about, especially in an average Nigerian home, where most times when you talk about things to do as a person or occupations to pursue, you hear things like medicine, you hear things like law, because most of our parents think that if you are able to do medicine or do law, eventually you become something worthwhile in future. So for an average person watching this show, maybe our parents or even somebody like me about some of the that's hearing about art for the first time, what are the opportunities can one find in the art market or the art world?
Okay, like I said earlier, art is very broad. If one is limiting it to visual art, then you certainly have limited opportunities, depending on the environment you find yourself. Depending on the area you are talented in. If it's writing, people are making a lot of money in writing. Just that few are mentioned. Everybody knows Chimamanda. But there are also other writers who are not in the same, who are not writing the same genre as Chimamanda. Africans are here to explore science fiction in writing, and the Westerners are hungry for original African content. I remember when the Black Panther uh, movie came out, it was like an explosion, just because they are showing certain level of originality in terms of, though it's science fiction though, but you see how far it reached. So there is that hunger for original African content in different aspects of art, be it in the performing arts. After all, you can tell that Afrobeat is one of the biggest exports we have. Even in the visual aspect, there has always been that uh, uh, hunger or drive for people to produce original African art. Though today everybody knows about the Mona Lisa, but have you heard of the African Mona Lisa?
I'm not of that.
That is another. Like I said, there's still a lot we can unpack. But the bottom line is that there's an opportunity in every aspect of this art. What to make you stand out is how original you are, and whether the information you are trying to give out, whether it is, like I said, original and authentic, and whether you actually know your craft enough to be able to express yourself through the media you are using to express yourself. So I believe that's the main thing.
So you have a gallery that is functioning in Ebonyi State at the moment.
Yes.
Where do you see that gallery in the nearest future, and what steps are you taking to achieve that?
Okay. I see the gallery becoming a household name not only in Ebonyi State, but in Nigeria and beyond the shores of Africa. Now, the steps that have been taken, remember we said that in the beginning, that Ebonyi State situation is that there's not enough education
Yes.
about the art environment. So we are putting a lot of effort right now at the beginning stage to make sure that people know about art in general, about the viability of the art market, and from there we can now take things up, because you cannot enter a market where there are no buyers and you just be there. So you have to create that drive, that
Awareness.
value. Yes,
Okay,
you have to
value.
create that value, and you cannot know the value of something if you don't have knowledge of that thing. Anybody can come and swindle you. You understand? So that's part of what the gallery is there for, to authenticate most of these artworks, so that once you come there and you are living, you are certainly sure of the authenticity of what you are going home with. So we still have a long way to go, and this is just the beginning. We're taking baby steps, one step at a time.
So in a case there is maybe an emerging artist or anyone who wants to enter into the arts world or and eventually own a gallery, what advice would you give to that person?
Do not be discouraged. First of all, talking from the angle of the artist, don't ever be discouraged. I know one artist then in Abuja. He was just painting, and none of his paintings were selling. It was at that moment where he all his painting materials had finished. The only thing he had with him was charcoal
Mm.
and some plain sheets. So he started putting, because artists we are very creative. Once we want to do something, the media is not a challenge. So what he did was that he put some plain sheet together, folded it together, and then used the way he made the work with that same charcoal. Are you aware that after like a week, he was able to package the work and took it out to a gallery then, just for a simple exhibition. He made like 5 of those works then, just because there was no paint again. He was just trying to express himself. Those works sold for 150,000 naira each, more than any of his paintings had ever sold.
Sold.
And he sold like 5 of them. That was as far back as 2010 or so. So you can now imagine what just like your question is, nobody should be discouraged. Continue doing it. And because he sold those ones, people will now take interest on other ones he has been doing. Like those old paintings that we are not selling, just because he was able to make those sales, people will now take him serious. And will now be like, I want to have a piece of your work.
Your work.
And it took off from there. So from the artist's angle, don't give up. Try as much as possible to tell original stories in your work. Reduce being a copycat. Just if you're going to copy like an artist.
Mm.
Hmm. So be original as possible. And on the part of the business, it's always good that you, as a business, you study the environment you are going into and know that it's a game of patience.
Patience.
Very important. If you don't have it, you might not last as long as you think you might last. So you push, and that's basically it. With time, the limelight will shine on your business and on you as an artist too.
So far it's been interesting to talk to you. I've learned a lot. And I know our viewers have actually learned a lot by just watching you talk. We'll be going into the next segment of this show. It's a simple segment. I call it the game time. So I'll be asking you between this and this, which do you prefer? So you give me your own preference. So Coke or Fanta?
I prefer Fanta.
Prefer Fanta. Davido or Whiskey?
Wahala.
You're an artist now. You just talked about the music aspect of art.
I would take the video. The work rate is high. I'll take the video anytime.
All right. Will you go for jollof rice or fried rice?
I jollof now. Properly.
You're not a fried rice. Okay. Are you a football fan?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Messi or Ronaldo?
I love Messi, but I'll go for Ronaldo.
Chelsea or Man U? This is where I usually have problem with my guests.
If I take none of the above,
Why?
because they are both rival clubs, so
Okay. What team do you fan?
I'm a gunner.
No wonder. No wonder. And that's a wrap on today's Spotlight. Thanks for joining us. It's been interesting to talk to you.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Let's do this thing again next week.